Hello everybody. Today what we're doing here is I'm going to show you how to tune a car from beginning to finish on Assetto Corsa. If you like this content, I really do appreciate anybody who likes these videos and subscribes. It does help me out a lot. It is awesome to see the channel growing, and it is awesome to help this community and help build with the community. So with that out of the way, I'm just going to get right into it here, and I will tell you right off the bat that tuning is one of the absolute most important things you can do with your vehicle next to driving it. Driving and tuning make the driver, make the car, make the times. So we'll start from beginning to finish, and I'm going to get this done as quick as I can while providing the most important information that you guys need. So, what is your final gear ratio and your individual gear ratios, and what do they do for you? Well, they make your gears go longer or shorter. And what I mean by that is a rally car is an example of something that has really short gears because it shifts. It's only doing 180 kilometers an hour. It's gone through all its gears. It's because every time it shifts, the RPMs barely go down, and that is a shorter gear ratio transmission. That's a closer gearbox. Now, on the other end of it is something like a plane. You know, a plane has really long gears. They go down the highway, or the runway, sorry. You're not going to hear them banging through all these gears to get up to speed. They have really long gear ratios. And when you're racing, it's very important that you're mostly on the shorter end of things. So for example, if my car has 8,000 RPM and it makes its max power at say 6,500, I don't want to have my second gear shift drop me down to something like 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. If you are shifting at 8,000 at your red line and you're dropping down to 5,000 or 4,000, you are having a problem and you need to turn your gear ratios up to make it so the RPMs drop less. So making your gear ratios higher, make your RPMs drop less during your shifts, which make your top speed lower, but your acceleration higher. Now, if you have a super powerful car and you want to go for a top speed, you're going to start making your gear ratios lower. A lower gear ratio means longer, which means higher top speed and slower acceleration. So that is super important to know. Very easy to change those in-game. This car does not have every individual gear, but the only difference is the final drive will make all of the gears shorter or longer all at once, where the individual gears, you can hit the individual gear and you can make them fine-tuned exactly how you want them. Tires on this game are very subjective and picky. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in the tire category. This is something you really have to tune yourself because all of these different tires you see are all very, very smallly different, and your tire pressures will affect them differently. But as a general tire tune, what you can worry about is after you have your everything else, your tires are the shoes for your car. So if you think of it that way, everything else isn't going to work properly if your tires aren't working properly. So when I tune these vehicles, I usually leave them at about 25 pounds. When you go around the track once or twice, they warm up to about 28. And I just drive with the tires, I tune the car, and I come back to my tires later. If I stiffen up my car and I make it really good and everything's going great, except I'm noticing a bit of issues with my tires, I'll kind of fix them last. But I also won't leave them at 35 pounds or 16 pounds or whatever the game puts them at. I put them up to about 26, 28, sometimes 30. You know, some softer tires for street driving, and then I tune them after, and I go from there. One thing that's important to know with the tires, if you have your car all stiffened up and your tires are too low, as like they're almost flat, you will notice a little more unresponsiveness. If you turn the wheel, your tire is not just going to turn the car with it. You'll get a little bit of that slidey feel. You'll actually get a little bit of that slidey sound if you have your sounds all up in your effects and everything. And you'll experience what would be a little bit of body roll like symptoms, which is just your car tilting because your tire is so low. And on the other end of it, if you're going into corners and stuff and your car is spinning out all the time and you've gone around the track once or twice, that's going to be your tires being too hot. Not too hot, sorry, too high pressure. So you don't want to roll 35 to 40 pounds. You just won't get any grip. And that's pretty much tires. If you're going for like a highway speed run or something like that, you can crank them right up to 40 if you're just going down the highway and you're just setting a speed. Drifting, for drifting, you got different fronts and backs. It's all different. Tires very important. So keep that in mind, and something to look up would even be a more extensive guide on tires. Fuel is very straightforward. You want to have as little fuel in your car as possible for the lap that you're doing, because fuel equals weight, and weight equals slow. Power to weight ratio is important. If you can knock down 25 liters of gas in your car for your race, and you're only doing 2-lap race, put 5 liters in and call it a day. Don't sit around and put 60 liters of gas in your car because you think you're going to go cruise Shitoko for 2 hours and you reset to pits every 5 minutes. It's useless. Put the gas in the car the way that you're going to use it. Traction control, ABS, things like this, these are things that are subjective to the vehicle. If your vehicle has this stuff in real life and you're just trying to recreate a simulation in a video game, and I'm driving this Porsche GT3, why wouldn't I use ABS? I'm going to use it. It comes with the car. It's not taking away my immersive experience or my real experience because it has ABS in real life. I'm going to keep ABS on. I don't want my car to slide if it doesn't have to slide when I mash the brakes. Keep it on. If I'm driving an old 90s Civic with a fucking B16 or something in there on this game, and that car didn't have ABS brakes, I'm going to turn it off. I'm not going to have it on a car that doesn't have it in real life. Traction control. You will be faster 100% of the time if you have good throttle control and you are experienced and you can maximize your throttle usage with having your traction control off. You will be faster. The reason why that is how traction control works is it limits your car's ability to get those wheels to put the power to the ground by not making them rotate. So if you have your traction control on, I'm going to be at the top of second while you're at the beginning of second in the same exact car because your car is limiting how much power you can put into it. You got to be your own limiter. Now, if you're driving a GT3 car or some kind of race car like that that has 8 different traction control settings, why wouldn't you use them? They have them for a reason. You need to use what the cars have. They make your driving experience better. If the car has it in real life, don't feel bad about using it in the game. I cannot stress that enough. So on a GT3 car, for me, I would use 1 or 2 traction control because I want my wheel to have almost no limit to it, but I want it to limit myself from spinning out. People that are running 6 or 7 points of traction control, they're slowing themselves down every time they exit a corner and hit the gas. Essentially, that's how that works. So now we have our aerodynamics. Generally speaking, on most of these cars, depending on who made them, on most of these cars, a positive sign will mean more of an angle, which will mean more downforce, which will mean more grip into corners, which also means a lower top speed. Okay? Now, if you have a more negative degree of downforce on these pieces here, you are going to have a car that does not handle as fast in the corners, but you're going to have a car that is more aerodynamic and parallel to the road and the wind, and it's going to accelerate faster in the straights. This is why people will have the same car with 3 different tunes on it for 3 different styles of track racing. That's just how this works. There's no perfect tune that is going to win you every race at every lap with every competitive driver. It's impossible to happen. Every track's a little different. There's different tunes for every track. A super experienced sim racer that has played their whole life on sim racing games will have a tune for almost every track for their favorite cars. That's just how it is. So now we get into the alignment. Now the alignment here is a little more picky, for example, you could say. So first I would like to talk about camber. What is camber? What's positive and negative camber? Well, if you take a look at it this way, if you put your hands out right in front of you flat and you pivot your wrist to make your hands look like an up ramp or a down ramp, that is negative and positive camber. If you're ever driving through a mountain roadway and you notice that in one turn you're on a right diagonal angle, and then you go over a hump and you hit that left turn, and now your car's on a left diagonal angle, you're actually hitting what is called cambered corners or camber in the roads. Camber is nothing to do actually with the car itself. It's an actual word, it's an actual term. So with camber, let me just explain with a photo here how camber actually works. So a positive camber is going to make your wheel turn a little diagonally, like a tilt. It's going to tilt diagonally to the outside of the car. A negative camber is going to turn the tire and wheel diagonally towards the inside of the car. So, what does this mean in game? Let me show you real quick. I can actually turn the car over here, zoom in on this tire, and we can take a look here at negative camber, where the top is going into the vehicle, versus positive camber, where the top is now tilting towards the out of the vehicle. Why is this one important? Well, if you're going fast and you're driving into corners and you have a 0-degree camber like this, what's going to happen is as your wheels and tires start turning into this corner and your car starts to shift body weight, you're going to lose grip on the inside of this tire or the other tire because the car is shifting body weight in the corner. So now if you have negative camber like this in the front, what's happening when you're going into these corners now is the extra little bit of grip that you're losing or whatever that would be off the ground or struggling for grip, because the tires are rotated, the body weight of the car is actually going to push the tilted tires into the ground more, so negative camber can actually give you more grip while going into these corners. At the same time, having an extreme amount of negative camber will affect how well your wheels can turn, and you can actually lose a lot of time by not having a proper negative camber setup. So the rear, why the camber is important, because having negative 2.6 in the rear to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Now you see you have a nice wide tire and everything, but if I put it to 0 just for right now, let's get this to 0 real quick, what you'll notice is that now it looks like there is way more rubber on the ground. Having a 0-degree camber in the back will give you lots of traction when you go off the light. It will also give you a little more traction when you're just kind of going in and out of traffic. However, once again, if you are doing the corners and the racing, I like to have my rear camber a little negative, but way more positive than the front. So for me on this car, I would actually probably run a tune similar to that, and that's going to give my cars a little better handling. The other one that we have is the toe in versus the toe out. Now, this is important as well, because if you toe in positive, you're going to be making it look more like your wheels are, say your wheels are skis and your skis are pizzaing together. If you toe in, your wheels will point towards each other. They will turn towards each other, and if you have them negative, they will turn away from each other. So I'm going to show you that in game again here, and what that looks like is this. See the wheel at the front, by the closer to the front of the car, you can see the wheel is actually turning away from the car when you hit that. Right? So this is settings that you can change to make the rear end of the car follow the front of the car better when you turn it. If I have my front wheels at a negative camber and my toes, in a bit, and my car has front end tuning and nothing on the back, the front's going to be super responsive and know what it's doing. The back won't know how to follow it. So when you're tuning these cars, you can actually sit here and you can look at these tires and you can watch the tires and you can try and make it seem, if my front tire was to turn, how would I make this back tire shaped up to follow that front tire? That's what you have to think about when you're tuning the car. So very, very important stuff here. Now we have the brake bias. Now this is also very, very important stuff. For me, I like to have my brake bias lower. The reason I like to have my brake bias lower is because it takes the brake pressure and adds it more towards the back of the car. When I take my brake pressure and apply it more to the back of the car, I get less body transfer for weight to the front of the car. So when I hit the brakes, by not getting weight transfer all the way to the front of the car, my rear end is not going to pick up off the ground right before or in a corner and slide my car off the road. I'm going to have a car that I can slam the brakes in the middle of the corner if I have to, and it's not going to go off the road because my brake pressure is not all going to the front, causing my rear end to lose weight and spin my car out. Now, my brake power, I always just keep that as 100%. If I mash the brakes, I'm mashing the brakes. That's all there is to it. I want my brakes to actually hit the brakes when I hit the brakes. So that's huge. Your suspension. This is very straightforward. The lower that you can get your car while keeping maximum steering angle and not hitting the ground is going to give you the best aerodynamics to make your car go fastest on the track during your laps. And that's all there is to it. If you have a high car, it's not going to handle as nice, it's not going to pick up speed as nice, there's going to be a lot of wind interference. So what I would like to do is I would lower both of these. And you can see the car actually will lower with it as well. Now when I lower the front end, I actually don't want to lower the back end. By having the back end slightly higher than the front end, I don't know how to describe it properly, but I feel like it gives my front more downforce and it makes it handle much better. Whereas when I have the car at a level point from the back to the front, it kind of feels like it's easier to transfer the weight to spin the car out. Whereas if I got weight on the front of the car and the car's a little lower in the front, I've just always found that to be way more controlled. And as well, if you're getting lots of body roll, you're going to want to change the anti-roll bars to be more stiffer. If you're getting lots of body roll, you make them more stiff. If you get less, you make them less stiff. It's just how it is. So those are a bunch of settings that are universal across tons of cars in this game that can improve your gameplay, your drivability, and this stuff is transferable to real life as well. You know, if you have a car in real life and you're driving a car that has a really long geared ratio transmission and no acceleration, sometimes you can just pick up a different transmission, slap it in that car, and now you got close gears. That's what I used to do when I was younger. I picked up Assetto Corsa after years of racing in real life, you know, doing stuff that you probably shouldn't be doing all the time. And yeah, I've transferred my skills over to this game. It's been a great time. I absolutely love this game. It's fun to play with everybody. So if you like this content so far for knowledge of everything that I've been putting out, just go ahead and like and subscribe, man. I'd really appreciate it. And I just hope everybody has a good day. So you guys all take care. Hope you'd enjoyed the video today, and if you got any questions, add me up. GameGrind 447 on Discord. I got a community. I'm in lots of communities as well, and I'm just here to make the game and the community a better place. So enjoy, everybody. Have a great day.